You've been pretty busy the last few months, more than usual, if I can say that, as having brokered the deal to get food and fertilizer out of Ukraine and out of Russia in the middle of an active war zone. How did you get that done?
Well, I went to see President Putin, I went to see President Zelensky, and I told them, look, we have a situation that is absolutely dramatic in the world. The food, energy, and finance crisis is undermining completely the living conditions of most of the world, and this is caused by this war. On the other hand, Russia, even if the sanctions do not apply to food and fertilizers, the truth is that because of finance, because of insurance, because of shipping, Russia has enormous difficulties in their exports. The Ukraine has their silos full of grain. They have a new harvest coming. They have no place to put that harvest, which means they will not cultivate the following year, and this is creating an enormous problem for the Ukraine. So the best solution is, let's find an agreement in which the Ukraine is able to export safely. And it was a very complex negotiation because of the problems of security in the Black Sea and the concerns that Ukraine had about the protection of their coast. But let's find a way in which the Ukraine can export their grain and at the same time to negotiate with the Americans, with the European Union and with others, the conditions to make sure that what was said, that sanctions do not apply to food and fertilizers, becomes a reality, and that Russia is able to export the food and fertilizer the world needs. By the way, fertilizers are extremely important not only for the present situation, for next year. We are already seeing countries in the developing world where people are cultivating for the next season less than last year.
Because they don't have access.
So, because fertilizers are too expensive or they are not available. So, if we, in 2022, we have enough food. It is not well distributed. But in 2023, if we don't normalize the fertilizer market, we simply will not have enough food worldwide.
Of course. Now, this is a success of diplomacy, despite the fact that the Russians and Ukrainians have no direct diplomatic engagement whatsoever.
But this was only possible because it was done very discreetly. For 3 months, I never mentioned publicly what we were doing, and we would hear all kinds of things. But we kept silent and worked slowly to build confidence to allow it to be possible. And this is what the present situation in the world makes more and more difficult. We are seeing more and more megaphone diplomacy and less discreet diplomacy. And people even joke, discreet diplomacy doesn't make any sense anymore with all the social media and all these things. It's not true. There are still a number of things in which if we want to have a result, we need to build confidence, and that is only possible if we do it in a discreet, humble way, making sure that both sides can trust you, that you are not having a different agenda or a different objective, but to solve the problem we need to solve together.